Okay, thank you, John, for the introduction. I'm Luis. I work at the University of Southampton, and here representing the Open Data Incubator for Europe, an H2020 project about incubation of open data companies. So we'll talk today a little about what the incubator does, what are their goals, and how do we achieve them. I'll give some examples of companies we have incubated, and I will take a couple of minutes to show you the lessons we have learned after running such a program. So let's start with the incubator. This slide, I'm very lucky to be the last one because I think all the other keynoters have pointed out one of these points that I'm saying here. Emma just said that open data is not consumed through use. I think Hervé was the one saying that the open data is a great platform for collaboration and enable the integration of data sets. Barbara mentioned the lack of geographic boundaries of open data, and well, the mere presence of Ed here shows that this is not only for the public sector, but also private companies are interested. And also, people like McKinsey, whose job is doing this kind of estimations, estimate that open data has the potential to generate great value. So ODINE's goal is to leverage this potential for the sake of Europe by establishing an industry-focused ecosystem of open data startups and SMEs in Europe. So how we do this? When the Commission gave us an envelope of a total 5.5 million euros to accelerate business ideas centered around open data. So we select ideas that we consider are centered around open data and give them up to 100k euros in 6 months to execute a 6 months project. Besides the cash, the money, that is always well received, we offer them a set of services like tracking. We help them we are on top of them, so they advance on their projects. We offer them personalized training and advice and open data training provided by the ODINE Consortium and its partners. We also offer them mentorship, experienced mentors that support their development following curated and personalized matchmaking depending on the needs they have. We also help them with the networking via the events or for example, providing them with stands at selected events or putting them in contact with people in the networks of the consortium that we believe will be appropriate for them. And many other things like global footprint via internationalization, offers and perks from various industry partners, and a space office if they need it, this one as a cost. So how we did it, we had 8 evaluation rounds that ran from May 2015 until September 2016, sorry. Last just finished, we are in the evaluation phase. How an evaluation round looked, we had 2 months to open for submission receptions, 1 day where we checked format things, they were from eligible country, etc., all these more form kind of things. We had 3 weeks for review them. How we reviewed them, we had a pool of experts in open data in several sectors and in business to take a look at the proposals that were 4 pages long, following a template that you can find. I'm not giving details of it in this presentation, but you can check it out in our website. So 2 of these experts reviewed each proposal and shortlist them between 20 and 25 of them for an interview phase, where a different panel look at them, and the ones that succeeded entered a negotiation phase where we sorted out the administrative details and set also the milestones of the project, the milestones to be achieved during the 6 months incubation project. So from an evaluator's point of view, they just need to score applications based on evaluation criteria that were mostly 3. The first, that the open data is at the core of the proposal. We were interested really in things that open data is critical, not a bolt-on as we call it. and the impact that this idea will have, that means from a business point of view, and if the team was appropriate to execute this idea. Evaluators also provided feedback to the applicants, so even if they didn't succeed applying to the project, will provide them some useful feedback that will hopefully help them to continue the venture. And well, as I was saying, they highlight the top applications for the interview phase, where a panel listens to them for a 5-minute pitch, followed by a 25 minutes Q&A. And this panel, that it's also 2 independent experts plus an ODINE vote, gives the final recommendation if the company should join the program or not. Companies that went to interview, that made it to the interview, made it to the interview, also received additional feedback of how they did it during the interview. Now some numbers of how this has reduced into impact, into results. This is as of September 2016. That means up to the 7th cohort that hasn't finished yet. We have already 4 cohorts that have finished, graduated from the program. We have 5, 6, 7 on the pipeline. So these numbers are for these companies. We have 48 incubated companies that have generated a calculated impact of 6.7 million in sales, efficiency, and unlocking of additional investment, whether it be VCs, crowdsourcing. We include all type of investment here. Employing 2,023 people during the incubation periods, and with 16 countries in total, from 16 countries in total. Good. So what we think it worked well for ODINE. We managed to be very agile in services and process. We also think we were able to be open by default. That means to share open standards, in some cases help them how important open standards are, and to use open tools and these kind of things. Also, we think that the ODINE model provided a good balance between commitment and freedom, because we managed to shear up at the minimum the bureaucracy that means to be in part of an European project for an SME, if it's let's say a principal partner. But being like a sub-grantee, like is the case for ODINE, allowed, especially for SMEs, to have a less bureaucratic overload or overhead. That would be the right word. Now, moving on to things that we found challenging, as Emma was saying just a moment ago, ODINE is a virtual incubator. That means we don't have a space where we can say, okay, you come here and you sit here for the 6 months and we have an eye on you 24/7. So this needed to be managed and provided the challenge, especially with companies all around Europe and even beyond. Because why even beyond? Because not only Europe, but also the country members of the H2020 network were allowed to participate in the program. Also, we have only 6 months, and that it's also something that it's kind of imposed by the European Commission. That was the maximum length of incubation that we had, so we needed to get the best out of it. So support or to help them to scale in such a short time frame was also kind of challenging. In some cases, access to qualitative data, if the data was already there, it was okay, great for them, they could start working right away, but sometimes, I would really like to have this data set, and all the talks that are needed to unlock these data sets fall beyond the acceleration time frame. So sometimes it was difficult for us. And also, as ODINE decided to not focus in a particular vertical, we received applications for every sector. The only condition was to be depending on open data. Then sometimes it was complex to accommodate the very diverse needs that each particular sector and each particular company has. So now I'm moving to, I will do a little showcase of some companies that we have incubated. You can have the full list at the address there, opendataincubator.eu/companies. I picked some companies that are using data related with environmental and geographic, and the geographic sector, just to be, let's say, consistent with the theme of the workshop. So the first company I would like to talk about, it's Plume Labs, that developed with us an API called Plume Cloud. You might have heard of them because they got quite a lot of coverage with this Pigeon Air Patrol, where they put some backpacks on the back of pigeons, and this helped them to track air quality, which is their business. Very, very interesting idea from a marketing point of view, and really helped them. They hit the roof, as you see on Twitter from CNN and on all these kind of things. So perhaps you heard about them because of that. But for ODINE, I took this slide from their presentation directly. That's what it says. They wanted to build an open API for air pollution data in Europe, and it's something that they succeeded in doing during their acceleration period. They already have this air quality API live and open to public consumption, where the historical and near real-time data is open for everyone to use, and they monetize by charging forecasts of this data. So very interesting idea, and very nice, because in this case they are more on the production side of open data, more than consuming. The next company I would like to talk about is called it's called Green City Solutions, and their product is called the City Tree. The City Tree is this square thing that you see here. It's like a bench with a lot of I don't know the word for the green part. I think is mosque. It's a carefully designed, because these guys have a team of agro-industrial engineers and botanicists. It's a carefully designed plant that cleans air more efficiently than a normal plant. So they can help cities to reduce air pollution in connection with the previous company. To reduce pollution by placing this in some strategic places, and it also looks good, and it's a bench, so you can put it in a square or in a place like this without disturbing the landscape, let's say. So what did they do with us? They took open data in weather, air quality, climate, traffic, and the CityGML 3D models, and analyze them, because each of the city trees is also a sensor by itself that help you to measure the pollution of the city, and produce a real-time city climate open data set. So in this case, the business model is really their thing is to sell the city tree, the bench, but they are using open data to provide an additional service that can helps them to monetize better their core product. So that was very interesting too. They are already some of this in place. If I remember correctly, in Dresden, in Germany, and also in Paris, in Place de la Nation, there is one of these, and they are in conversations to place them in Asia too. So they're doing very well, though. We're very happy about them. The next company that I want to talk about, it's called Son Energia. They are on the solar energy business, and their job is to given data on satellite data and data on buildings, they calculate the optimal placement for solar panels. So they help from individual owners that would like to calculate this to city councils and beyond, where you should put your solar panels to optimize them and help saving energy, money, and the environment. What they did during their 6 months acceleration program in ODINE was to analyze the solar yield of 2.8 million buildings, mostly with data they got from Finland. They are from Finland. And also they analyzed it for a couple of cities that I don't remember at this moment in the UK, because the data is available. They have a very complex algorithm about the shading elements and taking in consideration the local weather conditions considered. And their monetization is mostly on web services for building owners and solar providers, which is something that they also achieved during the ODINE period, their ODINE incubation period. Another topic that it's very common in terms of ODINE applications and in general is precise farming. We have 3 or 4 companies on this. I'm showing you the first one that we got, that it's called FarmDog, and it's a precision agricultural solution, in this case specifically for managing pests across the farm. So to protect crops from pests in the most resource-efficient manner with workflow, big data analysis, and disease cataloging. How they used open data, they integrated all these data sources, besides also the satellite imaging data that's, of course, transversal to all these solutions. They got data from the European Center for Medium Range and Weather Forecast. They gathered data that was open about best practices from open science from universities about how the crops grow and all this. More open science about technical details about crops, and also fertilization data. So again, it's a similar case of I have a product and that it's the control of pest or automated control of pest control, and I'm using open data to strengthen the appeal of this particular product. We also have another company from the UK that it's called Land Insight. They are on the business of development land assessment. It's like a one and off-the-shelf tool, one centered tool. So people interested in development sites can analyze a certain piece of land from this perspective. Well, they have many tools and many workflows for this. From the ODINE perspective, they are integrating geographical information and public planning information to help developers to achieve this. So they go to developers and sell this as, okay, this is the integrated tool that does everything for you. You just need to sit your analyst in front of it, and it will be easier for you. Finally, someone that is not quite technical like all the others. This is more simple, but we think it has a lot of impact, especially from the social and government sides. They're called OpenOil, and they identified that oil and mining companies operate in a global scale, but only report locally. And as they are legally required to report all the important facts to their investors, they do so, but normally that's a bunch of PDFs and documents that are not very readable for the public, and in some cases not even for the government where they are operating. So their main question is, how do you find them and how do you make sense of this huge amount of documents that are not in not readable format? So in ODINE, they created this Aleph search engine that is applying mostly indexing techniques and also all the work of crawling all this data across all governments to provide a search engine specialized in this oil contracts, so you can increase transparency and detect things that are not okay. They are also doing very well. They have a couple of contracts going in Africa, and they are also planning if this can be this kind of model can be extended to different kind of extractive industry or other kind of corporations. Okay, so that closes the showcase part. I'm okay on time. Now a little about the lessons we learned by running a program like ODINE. As I was saying before, the peer-to-peer support is challenging when you have very different sectors and very different markets. You can imagine that, for example, the guys analyzing text from PDFs of the open oil, the needs were completely different than the guys analyzing rooftops and weather data from the technical side, and also from the business development side, because the client is completely different and the targets are completely different. Second thing, and this is something that I think Emma also mentioned in her presentation, we believe that it's important, after working with all these companies, we believe that it's important to draw a clear line when companies are working with open data. There is a clear line between what problem SMEs are solving for their customers, which is critical for the business development, and what is the problem that open data solves for the company. It's not the same, and it's very important to have it clearly differentiated. And this leads us to say that defining the value of open data, what value open data is bringing to you early in the venture is really key for its success. We also found that sometimes SMEs often faced closed data barriers when trying to scale up, where I was saying, I think I said it before, for example, in the case of the guys of Sun Energia, they have the data from Finland, they have the data from some cities in the UK, but if they want to scale to the next city, to the next country, and the data is not available, they are blocked. So they cannot, it's a problem, okay, of course for them, because they cannot do more business, but also for that community in particular, because they cannot profit from their services. We also find that quality of data is a barrier for commercial exploitation, which is something that I think all of the previous keynoters have noted. And sorry. So these two things led me to do this graphic, that it's not as pretty as it should. Sorry about that. I think it could be better. I hope to evolve them in the future. That there is a kind of struggle between the open data providers, the people that it's providing open data, and the SMEs that are data-driven, that are trying to use them. Because the open data provider, governments mostly, say, okay, what is the data that I want to open, that I need to open, and that this mostly obeys to transparency reasons, while the data-driven SME wants data from which it can create value, and sometimes this is not the same. Also, we have the cost of data collection, because for the provider there is a cost associated in collecting this data to be able to push it, to publish it, sorry. And for the SME also, if the data is not theirs, means that they need to invest to get it. So they both have this cost in mind. And regarding the quality, also, from one hand, you have the provider, for which assuring the quality of a published data set has a cost that it needs to take in account, because the budget is not infinite. And for the SME side, the cost of cleaning this data, if the quality is not high enough. So all these three things create, in our opinion, a kind of struggle, and we believe that more work needs to be done into like reaching an agreement and a balance between what is the way, okay, when it stops, for example, the quality assurance, until when an open data publisher needs to reach for assuring quality, and when it starts, okay, you know, from this point on is the companies that want to draw value from it, that need to do the hard work. So thank you very much on behalf of the ODINE team and all our partners there. You can reach us in our website, opendataincubator.eu. We also have a Twitter handle at ODINcubator. And I kindly invite you to our next event. That will be the ODI Summit, the 1st of November. We will have also more companies. We'll have a showcase of some companies and a couple of talks there. So thank you very much.